by Benami. The leaders are winding up here. Daytona, the big one is out. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Rubbin's Racing Next Gen Series, every Tuesday night, sponsored by Butt Kicker. Today, we're at the virtual Daytona International Speedway, where we're going to go 60 laps with the competitors and see who's going to come out on top. Is it going to be Jared Reed continuing his dominant run, or will it perhaps be a new driver in the mix, as they've got about a 50% newer field joining the Rubbin's Racing Next Gen Series here's Tuesday night. On behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, my name is James East, bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second, as drivers right now making their way out for qualifying. As we check in on Dominic Deleo in the number 22 Ford Mustang. Gonna be exciting to see what happens here today. It's exciting for me as a broadcaster as well as for you at home, as this is the first time I've had the pleasure of calling the action for the Rubbin's Racing League, and that kind of leads to its own little bit of excitement. I'm not familiar quite so much with all the drivers out here today, and from my understanding, about half the drivers aren't familiar with each other. So it's going to be exciting to see who comes out on top in this season opener. Right now, it's Jared Reed in that number 5 Ford Mustang, besting David Reed ever so slightly on their opening laps. Good to see a little bit of family rivalry going on. Now, the Rubbin's Racing crew, they've been racing, sim racing for a long time, taking it all the way back to the Papyrus sim racing days. The original NASCAR heat systems, the 2003 one as well, so it'll be exciting to see what happens. Still waiting on Deleo to put down a time, as well as Friedel in the number 8 Chevrolet. And let's see who else may be putting down a hot lap here. We got Logan Butler, the number 99 Ford Mustang, coming out in style, seeing what he can do. Currently qualified 11th. Does he improve on a 48.54 his second lap? He does ever so slightly with a 48.50, finding a little bit more time. Looks like Friedel, number 8 machine, is going to be one of our last drives. Well, look at that. Kevin Haas, the number 3 machine, the Chevrolet, puts him on the top spot, narrowly edging out Jared Reed in that number 5 by a 1/100th of a second for qualifying here today. Colton Lanford, number 25 machine, he moves up to 5th. Let's see what Friedel does on his second lap. He had a 48.94 his first time out. And does he improve? He does slightly with a 48.6. That's going to be good enough for 16th here tonight. Now we've got a poll open for all of our viewers at home. Let us know, will Jared Reed continue his dominant streak this season? So far, 100% of our viewers are saying no. It's time for somebody else to dethrone the young blood out here today. And Daytona may be the first opportunity for these drivers. But it's going to be interesting to see what the strategy is. Talking to league admins before tonight's broadcast, this is expected to be about an hour-long race, barring any cautions, with, I believe, at least one stop for fuel, roughly around that lap 30 mark, depending on how things go for our drivers. As we watch Friedel, the number 8 Chevrolet, make his way down pit road. And then we're getting ready to start the season off strong with all of our drivers. Thank you all so much to our fans, friends, and family. Tune in from across the world. If you're watching this live, let us know what driver you're cheering on. The drivers will have this broadcast either playing on a different monitor, or usually, if not always, go back and watch it after it's completed. And they definitely notice who's out here cheering for him. Let's run it through tonight's grid. Kevin Haas, number 3 machine, starts on pole. Jared Reed, the number 5 machine, starting second. David Reed in the 52, starting third. We've got Steven Gibson. He's qualified pretty well out here in 4th place here today. having a good showing. Colton Lanford, number 25 machine, starting 5th. Aaron Sayer starting 6th. Wayne Grennan starting 7th in the number 28. Matt Clemens starting 8th in the number 19. Leaf Smith starting 9th in the 65 machine. Logan Butler qualifies 10th. Butch Taylor is going to be 11th on the grid here today, with Charlie Gage Jr. starting 12th. We'll cycle the grid back just one time. You've got Robert Mathis Jr. starting 13th. Frank Perfett starting 14th. Dominic Deleo starting 15th. And then Justin Friedel will round out the 16-car grid here today. And it is time to go racing, ladies and gentlemen. 16 drivers making their way out for the season opener. We are still waiting on Charlie Gage Jr. and Frank Perfett to make their way onto the grid. As we get a few revs of confirmation from our drivers, letting us know that they're ready to go for this butt kicker backed series. Let's see, what a great shot here at Daytona as we wait for the last couple of drivers to make their way on the grid. Still waiting on Charlie Gage Jr., Frank Perfett. They're on third and final call to get registered for this event and get out onto the hot pit, get ready for their pacing lap. As it looks like all the drivers have made their way onto pit road, we're getting ready to go racing. It might have been an opportunity for the race admins, league admins, to give a final little talk to the drivers, let them know what to expect and what they're expected of. But we're going to roll them off pit road and get ready to get things going. It will be Haas and Jared Reed on the front row, David Reed and Steven Gibson your second row, then Colt Lanford and Aaron Sayer on your third row. $16 drivers for the league opener. And let us know if you are interested in racing with these guys on a Tuesday night in the Next Gen Cup cars. Check them out at rubbins-racin.com. We'll have that pinned here in the YouTube chat shortly for all our fans at home. That way you can get in on the action. Go ahead and get that website linked for everybody here at home. And I believe it's also in the YouTube description as well for this broadcast. Jason Gardner here cheering on the racers, saying can't get used to that new pace car. It's a little odd. iRacing throwing some changes into everything for us. Naturally, we just can't get used to one any sort of thing. But look at that. The pace car is making its way down pit road for the first time here tonight. The season opener of Rubbin's Racing Next Gen Series. The green flag flies and away we go. Kevin Haas, Jared Reed on the front row. David Reed right behind. But we've got some shaking going around already towards the back. I believe that was Aaron Sayer, the number 42 machine. As Wayne Grennan, number 28, he loses a spot early on here today. Up front, Haas still holding on to it in that number 3 machine, but he's got the Reed family right in tow. As the rest of the field trying to scatter around, see who they're going to start maybe pushing and pulling with. These Next Gen Cup cars, until iRacing and NASCAR produces more data, it's a little bit tougher to race with this Next Gen Cup Series as far as tight drafting goes. It takes a whole lot of pushing to really break that bubble and link up bumpers with your competitors. As Kevin Haas and David Reed are linked up nose to tail. We got a big blink from somebody. Not quite sure who that was. I think that may have been Colt Lanford, number 25 Chevrolet. Running third on that inside line. And we talked about getting used to the new pace car. How about the new number placement on these next-gen machines? Right on that front left quarter panel. Opening up for a little bit more advertising space for all these racers to make the big iRacing bucks. most of the field running nose to tail here. And yes, that is going to be land for the number 25 machine with another massive blink. He's got Wayne Grennan right behind him, number 28 Chevrolet, who's going to maybe be a little bit cautious here and not want to push too hard too early, as the last thing he wants to do is get into the back of Lanford when he reappears magically on the raceway. Now, I'm not quite sure what the gentleman's rule here is the Rubbin's Racing Next Gen Series. I want to say if Lanford keeps having those big problems, he may be requested to hop out of line so the racing can continue unimpeded. But look at this, Wayne Grennan and the number 28 machine. He's trying to find a way through, also getting chased by Matt Clement and Logan Butler, running 4th, 5th, and 6th here today. But Grennan just can't push too hard, as he's got Lanford in that number 25 machine with massive moments of blinking. Just makes it almost impossible to push too hard too early on. Right now, our hard charger on track is going to be Logan Butler in the number 99 Ford Mustang. He's up 5 spots here today, working his way to 5th early on, as it looks like the entirety of the competition seems to be fairly happy running single file. I say that, it looked like Smith in the 65 Chevrolet maybe took a peek on the inside of Clement. Thinks better of it, and we've got somebody way on the high line. That's going to be Grennan in the number 28 machine. Logan Butler slides up the inside line to take over the spot. So now Butler will be up 6 positions from where he started, still making moves in that number 99 machine. Oh, and we've got problems already. Somebody's going around. That was going to be Matt Clement, the number 19 machine, with absolutely massive damage. Butch Taylor also involved in that one, in the number 33. And an early caution to throw a wrench in the plans of the racers. Let's go to our wreckage rewind and see what just happened with Butch Taylor and Clement. Let's see if we can get a better angle on that one. Almost looked like maybe he tried to clear high and wasn't enough real estate there. So we're watching the number 33 Chevrolet of Taylor. It's hard to tell if he comes up or if Clement comes down there, but heavy impact for both drivers. That will, again, bring out the very first caution of the night. Doesn't look like anybody else got collected through that one on our wreckage rewind. So Matt Clement, Justin Frettel also towards the back here. Doesn't look like he had any damage to the number 8 machine. Not sure if he maybe found himself an involved victim or maybe took an off-road excursion. Don't see anything on live timing that would signify he had problems. So we're going to expect Perfin and the number... Oh, it's going to be Taylor coming down pit road. And then Clement, the number 19 machine, Clement with very bad damage. But again, these guys do have one fast repair at their disposal, one get-out-of-jail-free card. There's going to be several drivers coming down pit road. Aaron Sire, Robert Mathis Jr., Matt Clement, Frank Perfin, Butch Taylor, all coming in on lap 6. It will be interesting to see how this affects the pit cycle for everyone else for the duration of this race. And an early caution for these competitors. It's still going to be Haas up front. David Reed now second. Colton Lanford third. Logan Butler up 6 spots to 4th. And then Wayne Grennan will round out our top 5 here today. Now Jared Reed, who was, from my understanding, the odds-on favorite, do well here today. He's down 5 spots, now 7th on the track. But that's a tough event to really predict here at Daytona with the draft battling. Sometimes you just have to be lucky with these draft package events and just try and keep your nose clean and avoid any carnage throughout the duration of the run. Another big factor for these guys is making sure you don't lose the draft ahead of you. If you find yourself in no man's land, nobody in front of you or behind you, it's going to be a really tough job to break through that air all by your lonesome and catch back up. Still 100% of our viewers saying it could be the Jared Reed show this season as our drivers get formed back up double file. But now you've got David Reed, the wily veteran, and the number 52 Mustang. He's on the front row besides, I believe it's pronounced Hayes, but I'm sure I'll get corrected post-broadcast. As we will be green once more for the first restart of the season, this time by waiting for that iRacing pace car to make its way down pit road. But they're going to have a long way to go down the backstretch before that pace car opts to duck in. Hate to see that for Matt Clement, the retired U.S. Air Force gentleman, having a rough start early on, but again, he does have that fast repair, but now he's got to be extremely careful not to find himself in any more incidents, as that one get-out-of-jail-free card has been used up as the pace car comes in for the second time of the night. The first restart, we're going to go green very early, as Barney, our flagman, putting in work here today. It is still Haas, Lanford, Reed, Butler, Grinnan, your top five. You've got Haas and Lanford on the inside line, linked up nose to tail. Grinnan and David Reed go side by side. And here comes Jared Reed, the number 5 machine, taking a position early on. That number 5 getting around David Reed, who's now shuffled back to 7th. Leaf Smith and Dominic Deleo also slotting up. Deleo now up 9 positions in the number 22 Ford Mustang, and we're about to have some side-by-side action early on here today. As look at him go, here comes Wayne Grant on the outside line making moves here. Taking over, no, Kevin Haas still going to hold on to the lead. I thought we were going to be seeing some really big shoves around there. As we got a little bit going on with the outside line, I believe. I think that's going to be Logan Butler and Jared Reed going side by side. Jared Reed now finding himself back to 11th as Butch Taylor slides up the inside line. Taylor started off 11th. Has worked his way up to 10th early on here today, but still has a long way to go, so these drivers don't need to be too impatient yet. Now, who does need to maybe get going? Robert Mathis Jr., Matt Clement, Aaron Sayre, they're a little bit further back from the pack here. They do not want to lose that draft, as that top 10 is nice and tight, single file, save Colton Lanford still having those connection issues. Now, just because we're single file doesn't mean we won't see a little bit of heartache. The biggest complaint we were hearing from the drivers early on in the practice leading up to tonight's event is it's almost impossible in these cars to really see what's in front of you when you're linked up bumper to bumper, as is the case for Haas, Grinnan, and Lanford. And let's see if we can get an onboard with Colton Lanford. Showing just how tight these guys are running. A little bit of a checkup to avoid getting in the back of Grinnan. You hear the RPMs drop. And as we say drop, he also has connection issues once more. Maybe a little bit of commentator's curse hitting in. Leaf Smith running fourth on track, up 5 spots. Dominic Deleo still up 10 spots in that number 22 Mustang. You've got about 5 drivers in the lead pack, all linked up nose to tail. Then David Reed, Stephen Gibson running 6th and 7th, lagging back by maybe just a couple car lengths. You go a little bit further back, you've got Butler, Friedel, Taylor doing a little bit of racing of their own in the battle for 8th. And again, we are expecting this, or still expecting this, to be a one-stop race for our competition. It'll be interesting to see how Butch Taylor, Frank Perfin, Matt Clement, Robert Mathis Jr., Aaron Sayer really work out the pit strategy since they did come in on lap 5. Some of those drivers dealing with damage, other drivers taking the opportunity to top off. There are no tire restrictions here for this next-gen series, so maybe tire strategy, a very slight gamble to make. I can't imagine you'll make up too much time with fresh rubber on a super speedway. Smith in the number 65 butt kicker machine, the Chevrolet, doing a great job. And speaking of Chevrolet, they're running 1st through 4th right now. You've got Ford running 5th through 6th. And I don't see a single Toyota that's made its way out here today. Charlie Gates Jr. in the number 55 machine, he comes down pit road after having a bit of an incident. Not quite sure what happened. Let's see what happened to Gates in our Wreckage Rewind. Ooh, he gets a hearty shove from behind. I wonder if he had a mechanical, as he got bumped around several times there and was unceremoniously moved out of the way by a few different drivers. Gates gets back out onto the track after 1 minute and 12 seconds in his pit stall. He did take a tow back to pit road, so I'm almost wondering if he had some sort of hardware issue. And I've got to say, good to see some of the normal names and faces that I've broadcasted in other leagues coming out here tonight for the Rubbin's Racing Next Gen Series. Always good building up a repertoire with your racers. You get to talk to the guys in between races, figure out what's going on with their life, what's going on and off the track, and makes it a little bit more exciting when we can give you that inside scoop of what's going on for drivers. Up front, it's still Haas, Grin, and Lanford nose to tail here. Just clicking off laps. I don't think anybody's going to be too gutsy during this fuel run, just trying to cycle through. And avoid having any issues. Because while they do have that one fast repair, again, you really don't want to use it, especially before the halfway mark. We just get through a quarter of today's race. And Grinning right on the back bumper of Hayes out front. Taking the bumper cam of your current race leader and pole setter, Kevin Hayes at number 3 Chevrolet. He's being chased by Win Grinning, Colt Lanford, Light Smith, and Dominic Deleo, your top 5. And you can see just how close these guys will begin. It's a game of trust, hitting trap speeds in excess of 205 miles an hour out here on the Super Speedway in this draft. As still the top 7 running fairly close, within a second of your race leader. That's going to be Stephen Gibson at the tail end of this train. He's running 7th in the number 53 machine, chasing David Reed in the number 52. Then you got about a 5-second gap back to 8th. That's Butch Taylor in the number 33 Chevrolet, who's got his own little train going. He's got Jared Reed, Logan Butler, Justin Friedel all running nose to tail as well on a second train. But with 7 drivers out front seeming to run nose to tail, they should, in theory, be able to keep extending that gap over the course of this fuel run and get away from their competitors, give them a little bit of breathing room. That way, if they have any problems on pit road or unless somebody does something wild up front, As we see one driver hop out of the draft, that's going to be, I believe, Smith in the number 65 machine. Not sure if maybe just trying to get some fresh air on the front of that number 65 Chevrolet, or maybe just needs a second to relax his hands after running nose to tail for lap after lap. Not a lot of room for mistakes at 200 miles an hour. And still, everybody nose to tail. You see Smith maybe taking a peek to the outside line, seeing what's going on ahead of him. And it's going to be more of the same till about that lap 30 mark is our estimated pit stop for these drivers, in which they will have to take fuel. Going to be very interesting as well to see who takes tires. Now, I'd imagine if you're taking a full tank of gas, you'll also throw on 4 fresh Goodyears as well. I'm also very excited to see what iRacing and NASCAR pushes out for updates in these next-gen Cup cars. As in the real-world counterpart, they'll be moving to that higher horsepower setup package for everything. That should make the mile-and-a-halfers especially a lot more fun and exciting to watch. Because again, for this season opener, we are at Daytona. Next week, January 11th, we go to Bristol, where we're going to go 160 laps around the Coliseum. And there is 2 drop weeks as well for these competitors. Now, last season, Jared Reed, who is currently running 9th on track in the number 5 Mustang, he had 5 wins with an average finish of 1st over the course of the season. Wayne Grennan was 2nd in points with 3 wins and an average finish of 2nd. And then you had Steven Gibson with a great running as well. He finished 3rd in points with only 1 win to his name. But over the course of that season, you had 5 different drivers put it on top of the podium over the duration of the season. It'll be interesting to see what happens here today to maybe shake up some points early on. Now, I didn't see Hayes on the previous season's results, so I'm wondering if maybe he's a new driver here for the Rubbin's Racin Next Gen Series. Coming out strong and so far doing a fantastic job in this draft battle we've seen. Now we're expecting about 6 to 7 more laps. That fuel window will open up for these drivers, and you'll start seeing that lead pack maybe communicate together on who's going to come into their pit stall and win. Not sure if we have any teams out here today that may be strategizing together on their pit stops, because the last thing you want to do is come down pit road all by your lonesome with these draft intense tracks such as Daytona. Because again, if you come out, I mean, we're seeing it right now back in 8th place with Butch Taylor, number 33 machine. He's got Jared Reed and Logan Butler linked up to him. But those top 7 cars all running single file together are going to keep extending that gap. It's right now about a 6-second disadvantage that Taylor has from that lead pack, as now you see Justin Friedel in the number 8 machine maybe trying to catch up as well and make it a 4-car rodeo. Drivers just clicking off laps at this point. Nobody wanted to push too hard too early. We saw a few of the fast drivers have that problem early on. And now they're finding themselves a little bit further back. You still got Butch Taylor. He came in a lap 5. He's running 8th on track. We just talked about him leading that second train of cars around and around here at the Super Speedway. Wayne Brennan looking for a little bit of fresh air behind Haas and that number 3 Chevrolet. I'm excited to see all these guys dive down pit road together. Who's going to be the first one to initiate it? Are they all going to go en masse? And will we see any problems on pit road? When you've got guys running nose to tail and drivers start making last-second decisions at 200 miles an hour, it can very quickly lead to heartbreak and tragedy as everybody dives in. A little bit of action going on in the back. Robert Mathis Jr. and Aaron Sire both getting around Frank Perfin, the number 67 machine. Frank will go back to 15th, the number 67 machine. As Sire looks to be our hard luck current running for in that number 42 as he's down 8 spots after he started off strong in 6th here today. Current hard charger is still going to be Dominic Deleo in that 22 Ford Mustang. He's up 10 spots, running 5th on the track. And seems to be just like everybody else in that top 7, just taking it easy, sitting in the groove as he's following around Smith in the 65 Chevrolet. Oh, there we go. I got a little bit of action going on. I believe that's going to be Lanford. Looked like he was very briefly going side by side with Grant, number 28 machine. Maybe took a shot at it, didn't see the momentum that he wanted out of his Chevrolet, and then ducked right back into the draft behind Haas and Grennan. As we cycle back a little bit further in the pack, here's your next freight train of drivers. That's going to be Matt Clement, Robert Mathis Jr., Aaron Sire, and Frank Perfin all run together. And I believe Charlie Gage Jr., number 55 machine's also in the mix here. Yes, he is. He's a little bit towards the back of this pack, but still chugging along. He's just ahead of Frank Perfin as far as track position, but look at this. We're going to go 2 wide and 2 rows deep in a heated battle for 12th. Matt Clement holds on to it. Robert Mathis Jr. stays glued to the inside line, but here comes Aaron Sire and Charlie Gates Jr. No, Frank Perfin on the outside line. Seeing if they can get something going. We got carnage once more. That's going to be Charlie Gates Jr. and Frank Perfin once again. Looks like they're into each other. No, it's Robert Mathis Jr. And the second caution of the night, 2 drivers just trying to occupy the same space. Almost looks like a little bit of netcode involved in that one. So look at number 29 of Robert Mathis Jr. and the number 55 of Charlie Gates. Yeah, I think there was netcode. The sim showed contact where no contact was necessarily made, and both drivers just get stuck careening around with heavy damage. Now, both of those drivers were involved in incidents early on here tonight, so they may very well be out of fast repairs. And what this also going to do is kind of stack the field up, as I predict everybody's going to come down pit road together here. Let's see if that's the case. as the pace car leads them around. I would imagine drivers will use this opportunity under caution to come down pit road together and kind of reset the field, if you may. And yes, that is indeed going to be the case as Hayes leads them all in together. As the entirety of the field comes down pit road. Going to be Justin Friedel shows out front in the number 8 machine after opting not to box. Colton Lanford makes up a position on pit road. He was in and out of a stall just about 3 seconds faster than Hayes, but now it shows Hayes out in second. So I'm not rightly sure what we're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen. Friedel shows in first in that number 8, currently up 15 positions, but he hasn't stopped yet. So I'd imagine he can't make it on fuel, so maybe he's trying to get on a different strategy, or maybe trying to get a lap led here at Daytona. So Friedel does come down pit road. That'll allow the number 3 machine to take over the top spot once more. As we get ready to roll them back out after our second caution of the night. And here we go. Once the pace car comes in, we're going to get them rolling once more. Past the halfway mark, Barney, our flagman, gets ready to go as the pace car comes down pit road. Haas and Lanford on the front row, Grennan DeLeo the second row, and the green flag flies once more. Our second restart of the night. But let's see what happens as cautions breed cautions. And there we go, right on time. Oh, what an absolutely spectacular hit for the race leader, Kevin Hayes. The caution has not come out yet. Colton Lanford also involved, and we've got carnage everywhere here today. Who's not involved? Where's the caution? It's got to get thrown. As Kevin Hayes, Charlie Gates Jr., Colton Lanford, Aaron Sire, all involved in that one, but the caution does not come out. Dominic DeLeo, now your race leader. Jared Reed back up into second. This race may have just been handed to these drivers on a platter. I can't believe that the iRacing officials did not catch that one. As we had I believe 4 or 5 different drivers involved in that incident. Kevin Hayes, Charlie Gates Jr. both take a tow back to pit road. And Dominic Deleo, now your hard charger, that number 22 Ford Mustang is up 14 positions. He's chased by Jared Reed, also in a Mustang. Aaron Sire has limped it back to pit road to try and get things going again, but without that caution being thrown, a lot of drivers are going to be in for a tough night to try and crawl back. Now, that's probably one of the hardest hits I've ever seen in iRacing broadcasting so far. As we are in the backstretch of this race, as our drivers make their way into the backstretch, 26 laps left to go. Dominic Deleo still holding on to it out front. As everybody in the field pretty much on equal footing here. Everybody taking fuel and tires at roughly the same time, lap 30 or 31. It'll be interesting to see what Deleo does. Pardon. It's one of those times on the super speedway, generally you don't want to be the lead car in the last lap. You want to be one of the drivers maybe pushing that front freight train of momentum up towards the front and pick up a last second win. Now I would imagine these drivers behave for about the next 20 laps and then all bets are off. As you've got 7 drivers once more still in a pack together. You got Robert Mathis Jr. He's running 8th in the number 29 machine, linked up with Justin Friedel in the number 8 machine. He's running 9th. Just clicking off laps together, having the time of your life. You've also got Logan Butler and Frank Perfin running nose to tail. But for the most part, I think the storyline is going to be up front as the majority of the field still outrunning strong single file. Deleo and Jared Reed really linked up nose to tail. You've got Wayne Grennan about a half car to a car length behind. He's running 3rd. No, he's caught back up to about a quarter of a car length. And then a couple car lengths back, you got Steven Gibson, the number 53 Chevrolet. Watching to see what these top 3 drivers do. Maybe trying to feel out the competition and see who you can count on to push you towards victory lane at the tail end of this season opener. Gonna be interesting to see who makes any jabs here. Deleo also doesn't show on the result standings from last season. Possibly a new driver getting some laps led. Again, definitely the hard charger up 14 spots in that Mustang. Interesting to see how the Manufacturers Cup kind of swapped around here too. It was a field of Chevrolets out front. Now it's a pair of Fords chased by a pair of Chevrolets. And I've got to wonder, where's the Toyota guys at here today? Not fielding a single car in the Camrys. Jared Reed staying right on the bumper of that number 22 Ford of Deleo. Now all these drivers were trying to make a little bit of pinion adjustments on their steering coming into tonight to maybe make the car a little bit less twitchy. These next-gen Cup cars feel, I don't know the best way to describe it, almost floaty compared to the, what would now be the last gen, I would say. I can't call it the current gen anymore. iRacing working closely with NASCAR to develop both the new cars as well as new tracks. iRacing had a part in the Atlanta Motor Speedway repave, actually building it on iRacing first, testing it in the sim before NASCAR gave the stamp of approval for the repave. So I'm very excited to see how things are going to shape up with the new next-gen Cup cars, as Jared Reed might have gotten a little bit loose off the line. He's going to try an outside move around Deleo. He's accompanied by, I believe that's going to be Wayne Grennan, number 28 machine. Both drivers trying to slot down. Grennan narrowly getting in front of Deleo. Can't say he chopped the nose off of the number 22 machine, but it was definitely a little bit close to Deleo. Probably played it a little bit safe, saying, you know what, I'd rather be third right now than with a wrecked race car. So now it's going to be Wayne Grennan pushing Jared Reed up front. After just a slight bobble out of Deleo, puts him now back to third after leading several laps here. And that number 22 Ford Mustang still having a great run, up 12 spots from where Deleo originally started. Just clicking off laps. Now he's going to see if Grennan makes the same mistake that he did. Maybe wiggle just a little bit high on the line, and that'll allow the number 22 to squeeze his nose to the inside of the 28, but the 28 of Grennan is staying locked on to Jared Reed. I don't think you could slide a piece of paper between Jared Reed, the number 5, and Wayne Grennan, the number 28. Both drivers really linked up here. As you go on board the front of Wayne Grennan, the number 28 machine, that is Jared Reed, your race leader, just ahead of him. Now, Jared Reed didn't get the love of the audience here today. Out of all of our voters, 100% saying Reed will not continue his dominant streak this season. Let's see if Wayne Grennan has something to say about it. As now we will have lap traffic to contend with. I believe that may be Kevin Haas, number 3 machine, just ahead of your race leaders, as well as Aaron Sire, the number 42. Now in super speedways, it's for the most part a gentleman's rule as far as lap traffic. Generally the gentlemanly thing to do, I don't think that's a word, but we're going to roll with it, is to yield the race line to the leader. So what you can maybe expect here is lap traffic to hold the high line. And yes, that is what Charlie Gage Jr., number 55 machine, will do to allow the race field running single file on the inside groove, getting through no problems. Now where it gets extremely exciting and borderline dangerous is when the lead pack is going 2 or 3 wide and they've got lap traffic with nowhere to go. But thankfully so far navigating traffic nice and easy, not having any problems or woes. And here we go. Now the race line is going to go on the high line to avoid traffic. And Jared Reed, Wayne Grennan, and Dominic Deleo quickly getting back to that middle groove, trying to put a little bit of space between themselves and Steven Gibson, David Reed, and Butch Taylor, as well as Matt Clement rounding out the back of this 7-car rodeo. Got something going on there, as it looks like Butch Taylor had problems. The number 33 machine, he's going to lag to about a second behind Matt Clement, trying to get back in the draft and stay with that lead pack. Clement still linked up with David Reed, the number 52 machine, but there is definitely a large despairing gap between the top 4 and now 5th place back. As it looks like lap traffic has linked up with this as well. As we're focused on Steven Gibson, number 53 machine. Steven started 4th and is currently running 4th out here today. 15 laps left to go. It's still Jared Reed, Wayne Grennan, Dominic Deleo, your top 3. Everybody being very polite until you see about that 5 laps to go board come out. And then you're going to see all sorts of pent-up aggression from some drivers trying to win the prestigious season opener. Oh, we might be doing it now. Wayne Grennan comes around the outside line, and the number 28 machine, Dominic Deleo, follows as Deleo side by side with Jared Reed. Stephen Gibson also making a run at it. Now, I was saying with about 5 laps left to go, you'll see some aggressiveness. I almost wonder with these top 10 drivers, for the most part, still having a fast repair in reserve, they're going to be a little bit more likely to lick the stamp and send it. But we may have that run interrupted, as Justin Friedel has an incident in the number 8 machine, but he keeps going. So the caution does not appear to fly for the number 8, who's got spectacular damage on the front of his Chevrolet Camaro. Take a look and see what happened to that number 8 machine. Ooh, a little bit of contact with the number 29, Robert Mathis Jr., both drivers with hard hit. I'm astounded that iRacing is being a little bit more lenient with the cautions, but more importantly, look at this. Jared Reed, Wayne Grennan going side by side for the race lead. You got Stephen Gibson, Dominic Deleo in the second row behind these drivers. Oh, we're pushing hard here today. 13 laps left to go, and they're acting like it's the last lap. So now it's Jared Reed out front, Stephen Gibson second, Wayne Grennan third, Dominic Deleo fourth. I think drivers are maybe taking a couple of shots at each other to see what they can get away from and maybe practice their technique before the final lap. Seeing what type of run they can get on their competition and see what's going to take to be the final or the finisher on the final lap in that top spot. Man, oh man, are these guys pushing hard with 12 laps left to go. Reed, Gibson, Deleo, Grennan, less than a half second separating your top four here. And a little bit of lap traffic in the mix as well to keep it exciting for everyone. Reed and Gibson linked up. You've got the 29 of Robert Mathis Jr., but I believe he's a lap down here. I believe that's Mathis. Is that the number 25 of Lanford? Yes, that is Lanford involving himself in the race lead. He's showing third in this lineup, but actually running 12th overall after being involved in a couple of incidents as well. So that's going to allow Jared Reed and Stephen Gibson just a little bit of breathing room here, as they've got Deleo and Grennan still linked up behind that number 25 machine of Lanford. Deleo and Grennan trying to get something happen on that outside line, but with just two cars, it's going to be tough to try and make their way around Reed and Gibson, who have Lanford linked up as well. Got other lap traffic yielding the inside line, allowing the race leaders plus traffic to get through nice and easy. That's Justin Friedel, the number 8 machine, being an absolute pro out here today. Deleo trying to work in the side draft out front. Less than 9 laps left to go here at the season opener of the Rubbin's Racing Next Gen Series. It's still Jared Reed, Stephen Gibson, Wayne Grennan, Dominic Deleo, and Matt Clement, your top 5. But as we've seen in play races in the past plenty of times, still left for somebody to throw it away and cause what would be a proportionate big one for the series. Gotta say, with a smaller grid, 16 drivers coming out, I'm very impressed with the quality of the racing we've seen from these guys. There really hasn't been any point throughout this race where somebody hasn't been nose to tail, bump drafting, and trying to make something happen. I think what's happening here right now is Lanford just trying to get back on the lead lap. but he will finally go to the high line. That's going to allow Wayne Grennan and Dominic Deleo to catch right back up to Reed and Gibson, the top 2 drivers with 8 laps left to go. As Lanford maybe decides against trying to unlap himself the hard way. He's going to hope for a caution late in the race to get that lucky dog spot. Eight laps left to go. Are we going to see Grennan and Deleo maybe try and make something happen again on that high side? It'll be a 2-car battle. If Grennan can have Deleo follow him to that middle groove to try and work this side draft against Jared Reed and Steven Gibson. But if Grennan makes that move early on and Deleo doesn't help him out and follow for support, that'll move Deleo up to 3rd and Grennan will get knocked out of podium contention. The top 4 drivers still nose to tail. Deleo is backed off ever so slightly, leaving about a car length to a half a car length between himself and 3rd place runner Wayne Grennan. Is Grennan going to try and make a move here? Is he going to be happy for the podium points in the season opener? Time will tell as here comes Deleo taking a look on the outside line, seeing what type of run he can get. He's got just lap traffic behind him, so he's not too worried about throwing away a 4th here. And will lap traffic maybe help out Deleo? Again, we're not quite sure what teams are out here running together. If there's any alliances have been formed in seasons past or maybe new ones coming into this round of the Next Gen Series. Or is the entirety of the field going to come and work together to maybe try and put Jared Reed out of that top spot? As we are still an hour in, 100% of the voters and our fans still saying it's going to be a new top dog this season. Five laps left to go. The top 4 still running nose to tail. Dominic Deleo maybe hanging back just a little bit to see what type of run he can get out of that number 28 machine. Number 22 machine, excuse me. Trying to put another Ford up in the podium contention with Jared Reed's number 5 Mustang currently running out front. As it'll be 3 laps left to go this time by. I'm curious to see when we're going to get any moves being made. All eyes kind of on Wayne Grennan, number 28 machine, as he would be the driver to lead the charge here up towards the front. But again, if he goes out there and Deleo doesn't follow him, he will just give up a podium spot. Grennan right on that back bumper of Gibson. Deleo takes a look at the outside line, doesn't get the run that he wants, not quite able to get the side draft working in that number 22 Ford. It'll be 2 laps left to go this time by, as traffic once again a factor for this lead pack of 4, still running nose to tail within 2/10 of each other from 1st through 4th. Jared Reed collecting some laps led here. Grennan takes a look at the outside line against Steven Gibson, thinks better of it, gets right back in formation. Gibson on the back bumper of Reed's number 5 machine. White flag will fly this time by. If there was a moment where you can expect Grinnan or Deleo or Gibson to try and make something happen, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. The final lap here at Daytona for the season opener of the Rubbin's Racing Next Gen Series. And look at that. Here comes Gibson, the number 53 machine, working the outside line against Wayne Grinnan. Grinnan still on the inside line, side by side. Deleo slots up into third on the inside groove. Gibson may have taken a shot too early, as now he's got traffic behind him and about a car and a half length between himself and Deleo. He's going to try everything he can to get that outside line working, but Deleo may be happy for a third here. And no, Gibson has a massive blink. Grinnan still pushing Jared Reed out front, but I don't think there's going to be enough time to make any moves happen, as you're going to expect to see a little bit of three-wide action. Here we go. Wayne Grinnan, Jared Reed out front, and they're going to crash across the start-finish line. Who's going to get the win? It shows Dominic Deleo as the winner, Wayne Grinnan second, and Jared Reed third. What on earth was that? No, it shows Deleo, Wayne Grinnan, and Stephen Gibson as your top three. My, oh my, that is a finish. Let's take a look here. Looks like Reed got into the number 28 of Wayne Grinnan. The field gets stacked up behind him. The number 53 machine also involved in that one. And look at that, Dominic Deleo on the high side. He comes across victory lane with no problems. What a win. We're going to try and back that camera angle up a little bit because that was just wild. So we're going to focus the camera on the number 22 of Deleo as the field wads it up behind him. That is a pretty clear victory. Wayne Grinnan gets pushed across the line second, then Stephen Gibson all involved in that one. So that will be our unofficial results as Dominic Deleo burns it down here today in that number 22 machine. As we're going to get our top three drivers up here to victory lane. And what a wild season opener. I can say with almost certainty. For my first time here, I don't know if that's what I was expecting, but man, am I glad it happened because that was just absolutely out of control. As we're waiting for Stephen Gibson to make his way into victory lane in our waiting room to talk to my smiling face. But it'll be Dominic Deleo bringing home that top spot, number 22, after an absolute wild finish here today. So we're going to try and get Dominic Deleo, get a little bit of tech worries going on. First time broadcasting for this group, but no worries. It cycles itself out pretty nice and easy. As we try and get the top three up here with us. All right, up first we got Stephen Gibson joining us. Stephen, you got a copy?
Yes, I got a copy. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, what an absolute wild finish. I'm not quite sure what I expected my first time here, but that was a spectacular finish. What was the plan? What was the strategy here in these closing laps of the season opener?
Well, it certainly wasn't the right one. I thought I'd move out and hopefully somebody'd follow me there. I'd sat in second spot, wasn't trying to push the issue, but that didn't work out very well. So anyway, I figured we'd fight it out going to the start-finish line, and I guess I nudged Jared there and sent him into the pack. I sure hate that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the racing at the draft package. It always seems like it's a gamble between if you survive and if you do well. Is there a strategy you came into tonight to try and put that 53 in the top spot, or was it just see where the cards fell out here today?
Well, I just rode behind the pack there for a long time. I just wanted to be there at the end, see how it shook out. got some tough guys here with Wayne and Matt and David Reed and Jared and Aaron. I mean, we got some good guys in here, so everybody's pretty respectful. We all have good races.
Well, Steven, it's a great time talking to you the first time this season. Hopefully, many times to come. Before I let you sign off and celebrate, who would you like to give a shout out to that's cheering you on that number 53 machine?
Oh, well, of course, RobbinsRacing.com. Can't forget them. We've got a better hammer. They're a sponsor this year, Linden Steel. And, hey, all the guys I race with, they do a great job. Jared does a great job administering the leagues. So, hey, we enjoy it.
Well, awesome, Steven. Great time talking to you, and we hope you have a great evening, my friend.
All right, you too.
And that was Steven Gibson bringing it home in third. Next, we're going to get Wayne Grennan up to the booth, please, as we get our drivers up here. Wayne Grennan able to bring home a second-place finish. Wayne, you finished second, up 5 spots in that number 28 machine. Got to be pretty pumped from your point of view, and maybe just pumped to survive that last lap. Wayne, you got a copy, buddy?
Sorry about that. Push to talk.
There we go.
Yeah,
Right.
I got lucky that I got pushed to second on that. I came out, thought I had it, and carnage at the end of a Daytona race. Typical.
Yeah,
But,
seems
it was
about
fun.
right. Now, Wayne, did you have a strategy coming into tonight to survive up to the last lap? I know you had that fast repair in your back pocket, but was the plan to try and keep it towards the end if we did have that late race caution?
Yeah, I wanted to stay in the top 3 most of the race, and just kind of figured, wait it out, wait to move, and with the way these cars run now, with the side draft, and you just got to wait your turn to be able to get out there. And I thought I had Jared, got passed pretty clean, and I'm not sure entirely what happened right there with. I think he might got tapped by somebody, but hey, it was a great win by Dom, a rookie in our league, and it's a great way to start the season. We're excited. That was an exciting race. I can't wait to watch it.
Yep. It was a pretty good one. Now, Wayne, I mean, it's a gamble here, the season opener at Daytona. It's a little bit of luck and a little bit about skill. How are you feeling going to Bristol next week in these next-gen cars? Is that a track you're fairly confident at, or what's the general feeling going into next round?
That's going to be interesting. I got some work to do. I just got some new equipment, some new pedals, and the brake pedal is going to be put into work pretty good at Bristol. So we'll see what happens. Looking forward to it. We got a good bunch of guys, pretty respectful. So it's a great start to the season. Happy for it.
Well, Wayne, before I let you sign off and celebrate with the rest of the knuckleheads here at RROL, say that 5 times fast, who would you like to give a shout-out to that's cheering you on or helping sponsor your season for this Next Gen Cup Series?
Well, I need to thank the A Better Hammer Twitch channel. Obviously, our series sponsor, Butt Kicker, and then a personal sponsor of mine, Moradness Sim Racing Clothing. Everybody's been helpful through the years, and we're just going to keep it going, see what we can do with this 28 car next race.
Excellent, Wayne. Congratulations on a hard-fought second, again up 5 spots, and hope to see you with that continued success in the very near future.
Thank you, James. Hopefully we'll be talking to you from first place next week.
Well, I hope as well, my friend.
All right.
And now we'll get Dominic Deleo up here in the number 22 machine. Dominic, you got a copy?
James, 10-4. I'm with you. How are you?
Dominic, I'm doing well. Probably not as good as you are. Up 14 spots. Had a rough go in qualifying your season debut, but still able to put it up on the top spot. How are you feeling right now, my friend?
I'm feeling good. This is the first time I've won a broadcasted race. First time I've been top 3 in a broadcasted race. So I'm happy to hear your voice and happy to do this interview, but definitely elated right now.
Well, I mean, compared to racing the last lap at Daytona, this should be the easy part for you in that number 5 area machine. Now, we saw a little bit of bumping, a little bit of grinding going on there towards the end. What was the plan to try and survive this?
I mean, to be honest with you, I really wasn't. I mean, you said it best. I was just trying to survive. I just wanted to get a top 3 finish in. At the end there, coming out of 4, I went with a 28 and gave him a little bump and thought he was going to actually get there to the win. But then everybody just wrecked in front of me. So everything cleared up. It was kind of parting the seas, and I was there at the end, which is pretty much all you can try to do here at a super speedway like this.
Now, with the Super Speedway, you being a rookie driver to the Rubbin Racing League, were you worried there's going to be some other team alliances coming into play or, maybe friends and past competitors are trying to push towards the win and you're going to be stuck out there in no man's land?
Yeah, I mean, I after that, I think it was the restart there. Maybe it was the first restart, second restart after the caution. Everybody came down and pitted, and I found myself running first in about a pack of like 7, 8 cars, and I really, I got passed by Jared in the 5, and everyone was kind of talking him up, saying how he was, the guy to beat in the league, and he had 2 guys go with him, or I think 1 guy went with him, and I got left out in 3rd. But, I was a little bit afraid, but like I said, just trying to put myself in positions to win at the end, and it happened. So, guys raced clean, guys raced good, and it was a fun, enjoyable experience.
Oh, awesome. I mean, a great entry. And I mean, we got a bunch of weird tracks, non-cookie cutter tracks, non-super speedways coming up. We've got Bristol, Iowa, Pocono, Dover, Phoenix, Gateway, Martinsville. I mean, a lot of technical tracks on this on the upcoming schedule. Are there any tracks that kind of reach out to you and say, "Hey, I feel really good there," or any tracks you feel really apprehensive about? What's your thoughts on the schedule this season?
Yeah, I mean, the scouting report, as far as I'm concerned, I think I'm better at the shorter tracks. We'll put that to the test at Bristol next week, but I love Gateway. I'm a little bit, back in. I'm not as up to where I want to be on the 1.5 miles, but it should be a good mix of things. And I always love the super speedway races. I actually only started iRacing, like 3 months ago. So, but this, the short tracks are definitely what I'm most excited about. But good to start things off with a win.
Well, welcome to the madness. A great job on your debut, bringing home the top spot. Before I let you sign off, celebrate. Who would you like to give a shout out to? Friends, family, sponsors. The floor is all yours, my friend.
I'd like to give a shout out to my wife, who didn't ask any questions when I set up a sim rig in our second bedroom. She's been very supportive of my hobbies, so just want to give a shout out to her. I want to shout out Eat Sleep Race, the sponsor. Guys doing a great job. Check them out. Racing Apparel. And then I want to thank the guys at the league, Buck Kicker, the main sponsor, RubbinsRacing.com, Linden Steel Company, Better Hammer on Twitch, and you for putting together this broadcast. I was listening a little bit while you were gridding, shut it off to go racing, but you were doing a great job, Jason, and good to have you aboard, and good job.
Now, since it is your debut, and since this is your first time on a podium for a broadcast event, I am going to make fun of you and say my name is James. But other than that, You absolutely nailed it, Dominic. For a first podium interview, I'd say that was pretty well done, my friend.
James, I was looking at the comments in the YouTube chat, but I see now. James East. I saw a comment from Jason, but James, sorry, that won't happen again. Hopefully, I see you soon and see you a couple more times this season.
No worries, Dominic. Congratulations again, man, on the win. It was very well earned.
Thank you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for the season opener of the Rubbin Racing Online Cup Series. We saw a lot of great racing, a little bit of good crashes, and a first-time winner for this series, a rookie driver, Dominic Deleo, bringing home the top spot, Wayne Grennan bringing home a second, and Stephen Gibson rounding out our podium here today. On behalf of RubbinsRacing.com as well as Team Goon Squad, thank you for joining us for the Next Gen Cup Series, sponsored by Butt Kicker, and we will see you same time, same place next week as we head to Bristol Motor Speedway. Have a great night, everyone.